Hello everybody. Got a different phone now, so I'll have to get used to this. Anyway, still walking along here. Hopefully better quality for everybody. All 7 of my subscribers, and occasionally I'll get up to 100 or even 1,000 views. I think once my highest is like 4,000. Anyway, I'm still quite amused at how wrong people are about so many things, and things that are quite obvious. I had a conversation the other day with somebody who I thought was quite well informed, and he was sure, quite certain, that the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up by Russia. Now, when you have incidents like this, you always look at who benefits, and you follow the trail, the money trail essentially. So who benefits from destroying a pipeline that benefits both Germany and Russia? Certainly not Germany, and certainly not Russia, unless Russia wants to give their gas to someone else. I mean, but that's a bit of a strange thing to do, and they're already under sanctions, having trouble finding enough economic partner. Why would they destroy a pipeline that gives them money? And Germany wanted to continue to get their gas. Indeed, other parts of Europe that it then went through also benefited, and they've all missed out by having that pipeline destroyed. So who benefits from this? Not Russia, not Germany, and not anywhere west of Germany who are benefiting. So, I mean, I'd have to look at which countries were getting things from the Nord Stream pipeline. I'm not absolutely sure which countries do and how much, but certainly at the very least, Germany and Russia both benefit. So they can be ruled out as possibilities of people that did it. At least not at a national level. I mean, I suppose you could argue that there would be people from Russia who were angry at Germany supporting NATO and USA, but Germany are part of NATO. Although originally NATO was actually formed to stop Germany. People may not realise this, that NATO was actually originally aimed, its original purpose was to stop Germany, not Russia. But then West Germany joined, and then East Germany joined, and well, the whole of Germany joined, and then they had nobody else to be opposed to, so they opposed USSR. Then USSR fell apart, and they even had former Soviet countries join, former Warsaw Pact countries and former Soviet countries, even places that used to be part of Russia are thinking of joining, such as Ukraine. So it's all against Russia now. But so it's interesting though that NATO was set up to thwart Germany originally, or Germany and Japan. Japan still haven't joined; they're not allowed to, because they're not a part of the parts of Europe that are eligible. But I'm sure Japan would join if they could. And yet it was set up to stop a repeat of World War II, which was caused by Germany and a little bit of Japan. It wasn't caused by Russia. So, a bit of a strange little twist there. But anyway, so why would Russia be upset at Germany for joining NATO? Do they think that Germany's not really a part of NATO and should betray them? Well, except for that Russia aren't allies with Germany, and they haven't been at no time since World War II, and maybe before that they might have been, but yeah, certainly not since World War II, at no time since World War II. And Russia's the most anti-Nazi country in the world. Now Germany nowadays is also anti-Nazi, but there's quite a lot of Nazis in Germany, remnants of World War II, because of course there are still people that say, well, you know, Nazis were the good guys. So Nazism is cracked down on, but there's also pockets in Germany and also in other German-speaking countries such as Netherlands and Switzerland and the like, where there are quite a lot of Nazis. So, because of that, Russia are really going to be very unlikely to want to ally with them too much, because they don't trust that the Nazi element could form government in Germany, in Switzerland, in Netherlands, in any of these German or Germanic speaking, I mean they're not all technically German countries, but you know, there's, because I mean Dutch is technically a slightly different language, but it's pretty similar. Russia's never going to ally with them. They're going to be very nervous about allying with them. So, why would Russia blow up that pipeline? Now, Ukraine benefit from it, of course. But they're not really going to blow up that pipeline. It's going to be too far away. They've got other things to worry about. They don't benefit enough. Because Russia are getting sanctioned, so that doesn't really make a difference, and they don't want to hurt Germany, because then if they hurt Germany, Germany might change sides. So Ukraine aren't going to want to do it. So who are? Well, this gets back to what was the actual cause of the war, which was the Donbass. This is the war of the Donbass, of Donetsk and Luhansk. Now, which country or countries supported them being autonomous? And the answer is Belgium and Germany. So there was some risk that Belgium and Germany would, well, they probably wouldn't take Russia's side, but would at least stay neutral. Now, Belgium's a fairly small country, and perhaps they can find some way to hurt them later on. But Germany's quite a large and powerful country. They're probably in the top 10 at least, most powerful countries in the world. And having their support would be a big deal. So the idea was that Germany were like, well, actually, you shouldn't be going into the Donbass. They're autonomous. Ukraine, stay out of it. You can't get that land back. They're autonomous. They don't want to be part of Ukraine. And Germany recognised that, as had Belgium, in what it was called the Minsk Accords. So Germany were a very big risk of being neutral. They were very reluctant to support Ukraine or support, USA, because they had the Minsk Accords, which they supported, but what they disagreed with was Russia entering Kiev. So if Russia had stayed in the Donbass, which is where they are now, Germany probably would have supported them. They may not have actually sent troops or anything, but at the very least they would have probably been neutral. And they were at risk of being neutral because of that. So were Belgium. So because of that, they needed some incentive to make sure that they took the side of NATO, because they're a powerful country. And I mean, you can just imagine how it would look if Germany decided that they didn't want to participate in this war. They didn't want to fund it, they didn't want to help. It would look really bad for USA. We already have Hungary, who also in NATO, but less powerful, less important, less relevant. They don't want to be joining the war either anymore. They did to start with. But just imagine if Germany also stayed out of it. If Germany declared neutrality, what would happen? Well, you know what happened when Pakistan did, is that USA got rid of their Prime Minister, covertly, and made up nonsense about him, about Imran Khan, who was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and completely destabilised the country. That was USA's doing. We know that. They haven't done anything to India, and I suspect that they want to, but India's too powerful. India also declared neutrality. But just imagine Germany. Germany's actually a part of NATO. Now, granted that when NATO started, their aim was to stop Germany. And so Germany being a part of NATO, there's an angle where they could say, well, actually, they shouldn't be a part of NATO. But that'd be a big political change. And if they went down those lines, if they said, hey, Germany shouldn't be a part of NATO, then you'd say, oh, what about all the former Soviet bloc countries? And then you'd be kicking all them out as well. Because if you're kicking Germany out for that reason, then you'd have to kick out Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, all these former Soviet countries. They'd all have to go. And if you do that, then it weakens NATO and it weakens the foundation of NATO. And you do all that, they have no strength. And I mean, a lot of people would say that NATO have had no relevance since the fall of the Soviet Union. I generally agree. The only thing that they've done since the fall of the Soviet Union is they attacked, Croatia, and then this. So in the last 30 years, that's all they've done. They had a completely absurd attack on, I think it was Croatia, and then they had this. That's it. Other than that, they're an irrelevant body. United Nations is relevant, but everyone's in the United Nations. It's really more of a peacekeeping force. It's really about world cooperation and the idea of having world leaders. The NATO means nothing anymore, and that's the problem. The only possible benefit to NATO is to stop Russia, who have made no threats against NATO members. There's no risk of doing anything, except for perhaps to the former Soviet countries who they want to have go back to being part of the Soviet Union, but that's really it. So NATO's not really very relevant, but if USA, and they're of course the main part of NATO, the start of NATO, if they were to kick Germany out, no matter what pretext they made, whether even if it was just outright to say, hey, this is because you declared neutrality in the war, they'd have to kick out other countries too. So it would create a political minefield. So what's easier is to do something like this, to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. So you have to look at who benefits from this, and it's USA. USA has the most incentive to do it. We know that they attacked Pakistan politically, getting rid of Imran Khan in a similar way to how they'd attacked Australia back in 2008, getting rid of Kevin Rudd, who was our Prime Minister. So USA has a history of destabilising friendly countries because they don't do what they're told. And you look at what's happened to Germany since the Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed. Did it hurt Germany or did it hurt Russia? It hurt Germany a lot more. It hurt Russia initially, and they lost all of the energy that was held in the pipeline. Plus, it's going to be probably too expensive to ever rebuild. And then they diverted that to China and also India. They're trading with India quite happily now. And that hurt Germany, who now have an energy crisis. Their people don't have enough fuel to keep themselves warm in winter. It's quite devastating. And so you think, well, why would USA want to hurt their own friends like that? Well, they've always done that. So you'd say, all right, without looking at who's admitted to it, what evidence you have, you'd say, most likely, it'd be USA. Now, that's not to say it's definitely USA, because it could also be a country like, say, the United Kingdom, who'd be doing it on USA's behalf. The United Kingdoms have been, other than USA, the main supporter of the war in Ukraine. Probably in some ways more supportive than USA is. So it's possible United Kingdom did it. And there's all of the NATO countries really, plus the NATO supporters like Japan and South Korea and even Australia that could have done it, but essentially it would be, even if someone else did it, it would be on behalf of USA. So essentially we don't need to worry about who actually did it, because we know USA either did it themselves or else told someone to do it for them, ordered them, probably with some equally terrifying threats, like saying, blow up the Nord Stream pipeline or we'll bomb you. And that's really what USA has done in their time in power, at least, since 1947. Since 1945, really, that's when the war ended. So it's pretty obvious. Now, what evidence is there that it was anyone else, or that it was Russia? Well, none. never been any evidence to suggest it was Russia. We just were told it was Russia. Okay. And what evidence is there that it was USA or someone else? And again, it's rather academic whether it was USA or UK acting on behalf of USA. But we have confessions. We have top military commanders speaking about this and saying, yes, we blew it up. And why did you blow it up? Oh, because it was to punish Germany. It wasn't to hurt Russia. It was a little bit perhaps, but it was mainly aimed at hurting Germany. And the reason to hurt Germany was to force them into the war. So you do something like that doesn't completely destroy them, but economically hurts them and severs that tie with Russia. So, because if you imagine the Nord Stream pipeline was still going, Germany would be under constant pressure saying, hey, why are you trading with Russia? Oh, because we need to keep warm and to keep our energy going. Well, you've got to stop doing that. Oh no, we just declared neutrality. It would encourage Germany to declare neutrality, just particularly after India eventually did. You've got to remember the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up before India declared neutrality, before Pakistan did. So you can just imagine that Nord Stream pipeline was tied in with Germany continuing to trade with Russia. And you would have had German cars in Russia. And it would have been a pretty big deal because USA, once again, because of the whole political thing with NATO, USA couldn't get rid of Germany, not easily, not without losing a lot more than they would have gained. So because of that, Germany could declare neutrality and would have, probably. I mean, we can't say for absolute certainty, but it seems pretty likely that they would have. Now, on the other hand, what did Russia gain from it? They got to punish Germany for supporting them? Bit of a strange one. They got to hurt themselves economically because it just felt like it? Oh, Russians be crazy! Yeah, that's what we're told. We're told this over and over again with things that don't make any sense. Russians are just crazy. We're told that Russians are crazy, and since they're crazy, if things don't make sense and they're not possible, well, that's just because they're crazy. What if they're not crazy? What if the logical thing that is proven is actually true? And I find it incredible to think that there are people honestly out there and smart people. I'm not talking about people that just believe whatever they're told, but smart people who honestly believe that Russia blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. They also believe that Russians blew up their own dam in Kharkiv. That was their own dam that was feeding their own people in Crimea. We know they didn't blow it up. We know that Ukraine did. Yeah. We know that the Wagner mercenary group were paid by people from the United Kingdom. But we blame Russia for that too. We know there were Russians that were tortured and killed, mutilated, in punishment. Well, they were ethnic Russians that was in Ukraine and supporting Russia. They were killed. We know that they were. We know that Ukraine has a policy of doing this. That if you in any way support Russia, you get killed for it. You get sent off into little camps of re-education, and then if that doesn't work, you're killed. So we had all these people that were tortured and killed, bodies strewn around. Oh no, that was done by Russia. Oh really? Russia killed their own people, did they? Really? Really, we're supposed to believe that. In fact, not only are we supposed to believe that, we're supposed to believe it's a war crime. Russia blew up their own children's hospitals. Russia blew up all these things that... I'm not saying all the war crimes, but a lot of the ones that we're told are war crimes were actually by Ukraine against Russia. I mean, I'm sure there were war crimes by Russia against Ukraine as well, but by pretending that they were by Russia when they're actually by Ukraine, we get all this, oh no, how outlandish, how terrible. When if we look at them the other way and say, oh, actually Ukraine did this to Russia, you'd be seeing it in a different light. You'd be seeing it as rather than Russians be crazy, you'd be like, oh, actually Ukraine had a good reason for doing that. Makes sense. Still a war crime, but it makes sense. The idea that Russia did it doesn't make any sense. And that makes people upset. because it doesn't make sense. That's what they're upset about. That's what people, when they're looking at this and getting so upset, it's because it doesn't make sense. You know, if you had the truth out there, you go, oh, okay, this is Ukrainians forced to do it, Russians forced to do it. It all makes sense. And who's the ones pulling the string? Well, it's USA, Joe Biden. That makes sense. Why do they want to do it? Because they want to stay in power. And if Russia become friends with China, what does this have to do with China? Well, they're trying to ally. They're trying to become friends. And if you make Russia look bad enough, this is a good opportunity. Maybe they won't become friends and the USA gets to stay in power forever. That's what this war is about. It's obvious. It's transparent. It's proven. It's certain. There's no disputing this. And yet, idiots do. And that's unfortunate. Yeah, that's it for me. Bye-bye now.